So we are.
Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki jai. Will you be doing the screen share?
Better you do. I'm still working on.
Okay. Should I start reading?
Why don't you start reading? I'm working on the settings here.
Oh. Shri Praharada Uvacha Na kevalam me bhavastar rajan savaibal. Actually, this I did yesterday.
We start from 19.
19. Oh yeah, you were screen sharing, so I have it too. Whoa, these are difficult verses. Mimam samanasya samudito grato nrsimharupastadalam bhayanakam prataptachami karachandalochanam spurat sata keshara dribhitananam karaladam shram kara palachanchala Churantajihvam Brukuti Mukholbanam Stabdordvakarnam Girikandaradbhuta Vyattasya Nasam Hanubheda Bhishanam Visprasat Kayamadhigapivara Grivoruvakshastalamalpamadhyamam Chandram Shugauraischuritam Tanurhair Vishagbhujani Kasatam Nakayudam Durasadam Sarva Nijetarayudha Praveka Vidravita Daityadhanavam. Hiranyakashipu studied the form of the Lord, trying to decide who the form of Nrsimhadev standing before him was. The Lord's form was extremely fearsome because of his angry eyes, which resembled molten gold, his shining mane, which expanded the dimensions of his fearful face, his deadly teeth, and his razor-sharp tongue, which moved about like a dueling sword. His eyes were erect and motionless, and his nostrils and gaping mouth appeared like caves of a mountain. His jaws parted fearfully, and his entire body touched the sky. His neck was very short and thick, his chest broad, his waist thin, and the hairs on his body as white as the rays of the moon. His arms, which resembled flanks of soldiers, spread in all directions as he killed the demons, rogues, and atheists with his conch shell, disc, club, lotus, and other natural weapons. So, I have a question here. Was Nrsimhadev, when he appeared, the Hiranyakashipu was sending his army at him, is it? Demons, rogues, atheists. What does it mean that the Lord was killing all these demons in all directions?
Well, I mean, I think there are always guards when there is the king or there is the emperor. So obviously, the usual thing is that, okay, if some enemy appears in a court, in a kingdom, royal court, then of course the bodyguards and other warriors attack. So it seems that this is what happens. So who is speaking in the background, Shirade?
Sorry, some workers here, so sorry.
Tell them not to speak so loud.
Mrinal, okay, sorry. Okay. प्रायेण मेयन् हरिरोरुमायिना वधा स्मृतो नेन समुद्येतेन किम् एवां ब्रुवं स्वभ्यापताद्गदायुधो नादान् नृसिंहं प्रति दैत्यकुञ्जरः. Hiranyakashipu murmured to himself, Lord Vishnu, who possesses great mystic power, has made this plan to kill me. But what is the use of such an attempt? Who can fight with me? Thinking like this and taking up his club, Hiranyakashipu attacked the Lord like an elephant. Purport. In the jungle, there are sometimes fights between lions and elephants. Here the Lord appeared like a lion, and Hiranyakashipu, unafraid of the Lord, attacked him like an elephant. Generally, the elephant is defeated by the lion, and therefore the comparison in this verse is appropriate. Alakshitogno patita patangamo yatha nirsimhau jasiso surastada na tadvichitram kalu sattvadhamani swatejasa yonupurapi batatama. Just as a small insect falls forcefully into a fire and the insignificant creatures become invisible, when Hiranyakashipu attacked the Lord, who was full of effulgence, Hiranyakashipu became invisible. This is not at all astonishing, for the Lord is always situated in pure goodness. Formerly, during creation, he entered the dark universe and illuminated it by spiritual effulgence. Purport. The Lord is situated transcendently in pure goodness. The material world is generally controlled by tamoguna, the quality of ignorance. But the spiritual world, because of the presence of the Lord and his effulgence, is free from all contamination by darkness, passion, or contaminated goodness. What is contaminated goodness?
It's not the Shuddha Sattva.
Although there is a tinge of goodness in this material world in terms of the Brahmanical qualifications, such qualifications sometimes become invisible because of the strong prevalence of the modes of passion and ignorance. But because the Lord is always transcendently situated, the material modes of passion and ignorance cannot touch him. Whenever the Lord is present, there cannot be any darkness from the mode of ignorance. It is stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 22:31. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hai Andakar, Yahan Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Adhikar. Godhead is light. Nishans is darkness. Where there is Godhead, there is no nishans. This material world is full of darkness and ignorance of spiritual life. But by Bhakti Yoga, this ignorance is dissipated. The Lord appears because of the Bhakti Yoga exhibited by Prahlad Maharaj. And as soon as the Lord appeared, the influence of Hiranyakashipu's passion and ignorance was vanquished, as the Lord's quality of pure goodness or the Brahman effulgence became prominent. In that prominent effulgence, Hiranyakashipu became invisible, or his influence became insignificant. An example illustrating how the darkness of material world is vanquished is given in the Shastra. When Brahma was created from the lotus stem growing from the abdomen of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, Lord Brahma saw everything to be dark. But when he received knowledge from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything became clear. as everything becomes clear when one comes from night to sunshine. The important point is that as long as we are in the material modes of nature, we are always in darkness. This darkness cannot be dissipated without the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is invoked by the practice of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga creates a transcendental situation with no tinges of material contamination. ततो भीपाद्याभ्यहानान् महासुरो रुषा नृसिंहं गदयोरुवेगया तं विक्रमान्तं सगदं गदाधरो महोरगं त्रक्ष्यसुतो यथा गृहीत. Thereafter, the great demon Hiranyakashipu, who was extremely angry, swiftly attacked Nrsimhadeva with his club and began to beat him. Lord Nrsimhadeva, however, captured the great demon along with his club, just as Garuda might capture a great snake. Satasya hasto klatitastada suro vikridato yadvadahir garutmataha asadvamanyanta hritau kashomara gnachada bharata sarvadhishnyapaha. O Yudhishthir, O great son of Bharata, when Lord Nrsimhadev gave Hiranyakashipu a chance to slip from his hand, just as Garuda sometimes plays with a snake and lets it slip from his mouth, the demigods who had lost their abodes and who were hiding behind the clouds for fear of the demon did not consider that incident very good. Indeed, they were perturbed. When Hiranyakashipu was in the process of being killed by Nrsimhadeva, the Lord gave the demon a chance to slip from his clutches. This incident was not very much appreciated by the demigods, for they were greatly afraid of Hiranyakashipu. They knew that if somehow or other Hiranyakashipu escaped from Nrsimhadeva's hands and saw that the demigods were looking forward to his death with great pleasure, he would take revenge upon them. Therefore, they were very much afraid. Tammanyamano nijavirya sankitam yadhastamukto nriharim mahasuraha punastamasajhata khadga charmani pragrahya vegena gatashramo mridhe. When Hiranyakashipu was freed from the hands of Nrsimhadeva, he falsely thought that the Lord was afraid of his powers. Therefore, after taking a little rest from the fight, he took up his sword and shield and again attacked the Lord with great force. When a sinful man enjoys material facilities, foolish people sometimes think, how is it that this sinful man is enjoying whereas a pious man is suffering? But by the will of the Supreme, a sinful man is sometimes given the chance to enjoy the material world as if he were not under the clutches of material nature, just so that he may be fooled. A sinful man who acts against the laws of nature must be punished, but sometimes he is given a chance to play, exactly like Hiranyakashipu when he was released from the hands of Nrsimhadeva. Hiranyakashipu was destined to be ultimately killed by Nrsimhadeva, but just to see the fun, the Lord gave him a chance to slip from his hands. Haha. Tamshena vegam satachandravartmabhis charantamajjidram upharyado kritvattahasam kharam utsavannolabham nimilitaksham jagre mahajavaha. Making a loud, shrill sound of laughter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, who is extremely strong and powerful, captured Hiranyakashipu, who was protecting himself with his sword and shield, leaving no gaps open. With the speed of a hawk, Hiranyakashipu moved sometimes in the sky and sometimes on the earth, his eyes closed because of fear of Nrsimhadev's laughter. Vishvakspuranatam Vishvakspurantam Grahanaturam Harir Vyalo Yathakum Kulisaktvacham Dvaryavurum Aptidadara Leelaya Nakairyatahim Garudo Mahavisham. As a snake captures a mouse, or Garuda captures a very venomous snake, Lord Nrsimhadeva captured Hiranyakashipu, who could not be pierced even by the thunderbolt of King Indra. As Hiranyakashipu moved his limbs here and there and all around, very much afflicted by being captured, Lord Nrsimhadeva placed the demon on his lap, supporting him with his thighs, and in the doorway of assembly hall, the Lord very easily tore the demon to pieces with the nails of his hand. Purport. Hiranyakashipu had received from Lord Brahma the benediction that he would not die on the land or in the sky. Therefore, to keep the promise of Lord Brahma intact, Nrsimhadeva placed Hiranyakashipu's body on his lap, which was neither land nor sky. Hiranyakashipu had received the benediction that he would not die either during the day or at night. Therefore, to keep this promise of Brahma, the Lord killed Hiranyakashipu in the evening, which is the end of the day and the beginning of night, but is neither day nor night. Hiranyakashipu had taken a benediction from Lord Brahma that he would not die from any weapon or be killed by any person, dead or alive. Therefore, just to keep the word of Lord Brahma, Lord Nrsimhadeva placed Hiranyakashipu's body, pierced Hiranyakashipu's body with his nails, which were not weapons and were neither living nor dead. Indeed, the nails can be called dead, but at the same time, they can be said alive. To keep intact all of Lord Brahma's benedictions, Lord Nrsimhadeva paradoxically but very easily killed the great demon Hiranyakashipu. Samramba dushpreksha karala lochana Vyathananantam vilihan swajihvaya Ashriglava taruna kesarano Yathantrapmali dipahatyaya hari. Lord Nrsimhadeva's mouth and mane were sprinkled with drops of blood, and his fierce eyes full of anger were impossible to look at. Licking the edge of his mouth with his tongue, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Nrsimhadeva, decorated with a garland of intestines taken from Hiranyakashipu's abdomen, resembled a lion that has just killed an elephant. Purport. The hair on Lord Nrsimha's face, being sprinkled with drops of blood, was reddish and looked very beautiful. Lord Nrsimhadeva pierced Hiranyakashipu's abdomen with his nails, pulled out the demon's intestines, and wore them as a garland, which enhanced his beauty. Very fearsome, like a lion engaged in fighting an elephant. I'm just wondering how, like, these descriptions of blood and everything, how it's described like in a positive way. If it was anything to do with like humans, no, it would just be disgusting. But in case of the Lord, it's all, by the way, he's not like an ordinary demon.
Oh, but that's a Vira Rasa, or even
Yeah.
in human life, when you see a hero, throughout the cultures, when you see a hero full with blood, it's encouraging, it's a sign of heroism, it's a sign of, in this case, it's a sign of victory. So, I mean, obviously, there are different concept of beauty, depends on the context. So when somebody's fighting, I mean, even if you see a boxing match, now that the guy who wins may have some blood, they have some different signs in the face,
Yeah.
but that may enhance the beauties. It's a special rasa. It's Vira Rasa.
Wow. Wow. Isn't that the similar when Bhishma Dev when he saw Krishna in the
Yeah.
battlefield of Kurukshetra, that's a Veera Rasa where Bhishma Dev also saw Krishna perspiring and drops of blood or something also was on him, right? From the weapons. And
Yes.
how you remember the description? Something similar like this previous verse, no?
Yes, there was dust from the battlefield and so on. So for Bhishma, that was beautiful.
Yeah. Veera
See,
Rasa. Wow.
for a warrior, those things are beautiful. If you see
Yeah.
somebody sitting in a room all pretty, that does not, it's not
Yeah.
attractive. Just like similar thing, when Bhishma was, I heard, I don't know, when Bhishma was lying on the bed of arrows, then he said, I'm thirsty. And then Duryodhan called for all the juices and sherbets and things. But then Arjuna understood the mind of Bhishma just with the arrow pierced the ground and some water came up directly into the mouth of Bhishma. So, and he appreciated more that. It's a special mood for warriors. Other people may not understand.
Is there any other description of this Veera Rasa? Here, Narasimhadev is having all these blood things on him, and then Krishna in the battlefield, as Bhishma describes, he had the dust and the other the elements like that. Is there like it's in 10th canto, right? About like Krishna when he fought some demons.
There is also, I mean, anytime Krishna fights with Varahadev when he fought for the brother of Hiranyakashipu. So, yeah, that's also there. When Krishna fights, there is that type of element. When he fights in Kurukshetra, when he fights as Varaha, when he fights as Nishinga, other avatars are different. Or when he fought as Ramachandra, like that. Other avatara may not do that, you know. But like Vamana Deva is a Brahmana, he doesn't do that.
But this is far out about the Virya Rasa, it's so amazing. But my question is, who, like in case of Bhishma, it's very clear that Bhishma is rejoicing, like you just mentioned. For Bhishma, looking at Krishna all full of dust and sweat and the war kind of the scenario was so beautiful to see Krishna like that. Here, this description is enjoyed by who? Prahlad? Is Prahlad enjoying the Virya Rasa here?
I think everybody, even the devatas, they're warriors. They fight all the time. So whoever, see, it's like there are different genre movies. Okay, there is a romance, and then two people go this and that. There is some courtship and all that, and then there is a comedy, which is hasya rasa. People just laugh, some ridiculous situation, and people laugh. So there is the Vira Rasa, which is heroic rasa. So the just like there are action movies and the hero jumps and he gets cut here and there, and he gets very often get shot. But that's kind of enjoyable in the sense that it shows the valor, it shows the chivalry. So there is a lecture. Let me see this lecture from Srila Prabhupada explains this thing. This is a lecture in Vrindavan, 25th September 76. He said, Krishna is enjoying with the gopis and Radharani. Similarly, enjoys with Bibhatsa Rasa, Veera Rasa, killing. Killing is also Veera Rasa because he's the reservoir of all rasa. So he enjoys that. And those who see also enjoy. It's a spectacle, especially in this case, because it's not just he's fighting somebody. Hiranyakashipu who had subdued Indra, who had subdued everybody in the universe. So it's very, very spectacular. So see, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada says, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I'm talking Madhya Lila, 19th chapter, the verse explained that in addition to the 5 direct mellows, there are 7 indirect mellows known as laughter, wonder, chivalry, compassion, anger, disaster, and fear. So Hasya, Adbhuta, Vira, Karuna, Raudra, Vivatsa, Bhaya. So Srila Prabhupada quotes Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu saying Vira Bhakti Rasa is described as follows. Then he quotes to the Sanskrit, and then he says, and this is the translation, when attachment to Krishna mixes with the bellicose tendency, the charitable tendency or the merciful tendency in the heart of the devotee, such devotion is called Vira Bhakti Rasa. So the point is that these are indirect or secondary, like Bhishma Deva. It's not that, all his long life, he constantly fought with Krishna. His basic rasa is dasya rasa. He's a servant of the Lord. He wants to do the will of the Lord and so on. So that's the dasya rasa. But then, of course, during the battle of Kurukshetra, during those hours of fighting, then obviously he shifts to vira rasa, vira bhakti rasa.
Wow. And how is that rasa relevant? Like, can we say like a little bit in ISKCON, those who kind of maybe fight Mayavadis or other is that also some sort of a Virya rasa? Is it like a type 8, Enneagram type 8 sort of a thing?
Well, Srila Prabhupada, for instance, said that we want devotees to be like Arjuna, meaning ready to fight for Krishna. And he was certainly challenging so much the materialistic idea, the materialistic ideas, the Mayavadas, and let me see if I can find some link. But yes, definitely the part, especially in this world, that when there is so much opposition, devotees assume this mood, like Arjuna's killing people for Krishna. In fact, he hesitated, but Krishna then convinced him. So similarly, yeah, if you want to spread Krishna consciousness, there are so many obstacles, so many dangerous situations. Like Srila Prabhupada fought so much for this Juhu land. They were trying to cheat him, cheat the devotees, and he fought for years. And finally, it was a success.
But
So,
it's not enjoyed it. It's not like he enjoyed that fights. What I'm meaning to say is like sometimes some devotees like they have a fighting spirit, they go fight and win a temple back or fight about some theological things. I mean, I'm getting a full different perspective here that people are very challenging by nature and they may get insults. People may call you all sorts of names when you try to fight for some higher cause. And then is that kind of Virya Rasa type of category? That's my question.
Yeah, it's called a belligerent of fighting, the fighting spirit. Like Hanuman, he had the fighting spirit. Obviously, it was not just when he went as a messenger to Lanka, he wasn't just like a postman. Oh, here's a message. No, it was a fighting spirit, and then he burned the whole Lanka, and so obviously he was enjoying while burning Lanka. Also, it's a special thing. It's just like, I mean, in the material world, say people play football. They have this, what they call, I'm not sure in English, but it's a small football, 5 against 5, no? And these are people, these are not, most people are not professionals or anything. These are people who work all day. And then for fun, they go and play. And part of the fun, they know that they will be pushed, they'll get some kick maybe, or as soon as they get the ball, somebody goes and try to take it out. But it's a pleasure. It's a game. It's a play. So they know that there is opposition. Then nobody is forcing them. It's not like a war that, okay, somebody is taken and forced to fight. So they really hate it unless they're whatever heroic or they have the nature. But even tennis, it's a fight. You throw the ball, the people try to get the ball back, and then you run after the ball, and then you try it again. So there's a lot of aggressivity in practically all sports, even sports like chess. You got to eat people's pieces, right? You got to eat. I mean, or kill, whatever it's called in English. So there is it's a way of expressing aggressivity. So there is a pleasure. Otherwise, people won't do it. Why they should play tennis? They know that the other guy is trying his best to defeat you, but it's a form of pleasure. So that Srila Prabhupada explained is also in Krishna. Krishna also, in fact, you can see in Vrindavan also, they play this type of game. Who wins, who loses, the losers, they have to carry the winner on their back. So it's a constantly like that, but nobody, see, these coward boys in Vrindavan, they could just sit around or just talk, but they're, because that's kind of the male thing that they have to fight. You can see in human psychology, they study the children, and male children are, the play is about confrontation, and the female children is about consensuality. They play doctor, no, the doctor try to help, or they play ladies sitting and sharing tea. It's just their nature. Women are consensual because their work is traditional. Their work is to conserve life, protect life, be motherly, see the best for the nurturing. And men traditionally they have to fight outside, fight as a businessman, fight as an agriculturist. Agriculturists, you have to fight with bad grass. You have to fight against things that insects or animals that destroy your harvest. So there is much more confrontation. So that's the nature, both in the spiritual world, but in the spiritual world, of course, it's all blissful. Like even separation is blissful. I mean, even those who sometimes Krishna loses, like the story of Pralambasura. There was two groups, Krishna and Balaram, and Balaram's team won, and so Pralambasura took Balaram on his. Pralambasura was in Krishna's. Sorry, yes, Pralambasura joined as a coward boy and went into Krishna's team. Then Krishna's team lost, and as a reward, those who won went on the shoulders of those who won, or those who lost. Sorry. So Balaram won, and he went on the shoulders of Pralambasura.
Yes.
And then he killed him because he couldn't maintain the form of a coward boy. But Krishna had lost, so he carried some coward boy on his own shoulder. But certainly it's all, it's all exchange of love. It's Sakya Rasa. Some other Dasya Rasa, they will feel very uncomfortable. But Sakya Rasa, they are okay. They're okay. Like when the even playing pranks on Krishna. When Krishna is, they just say, "Oh, open your mouth, I'll give you a sweet," and then they put a flower, and then Krishna makes that face. So, but it's all enjoyable.
Can I ask you a question? It's a personal question. Do you enjoy Veera Rasa more than other rasas as a as a ISKCON devotee? And is your fight with the Auntie Smartha and all these things, is it a very much Veera Rasa category?
I mean, I would love that somebody would do that, frankly. But if there's nobody else to do it, somebody has to do it. I would rather spend time and energy building something, but sometimes you got to. There is pravriti and nivriti. There is something building something, we could say positive, or addressing some problem. So, in one sense, I would rather work for creating something beautiful, but in creating something beautiful, you got to deal with problems. So I'm doing out of duty in one sense. I don't know if you call it Veera Rasa. Those are very high frequency.
Okay. Anyway, I just thought as you were speaking about all these Shastric references, I was just trying to find the relevance in our life. How some of us may have tendency to fight against injustice and like
of course, that's why there is Varnashram, there are Kshatriyas and Vaishyas.
Right.
Vaishyas are more into friendship, because to do business you got to be friendly, right? You got to treat nicely the customer. And Kshatriya also, they need to be diplomatic, but they are ready to fight. Like that. Brahmanas, they don't really like to fight, unless, I mean, some Brahmana like Dronacharya can fight also. Everybody can fight. Like when the Vaishyas, when they moved from Gokula to Vrindavan, it is described that they went with all these carts, and all the men had arrows and bows and arrows, and they were ready to shoot people. If there was any attack, maybe some wild animal, or I don't know, whatever, some tribal, whatever. They were ready to fight. It's not that it's, oh, I'm Vaishya. So, but Vaishya generally are non-violent, because they take care of the cows, they trade. These are all, at least in a physical sense, non-violent activities. So, Kshatriya, you see, Srila Prabhupada, there's a verse, let me see if I find it quickly. His verse, I believe, is First Canto, chapter 16, and text number 10. So there it says, while Maharaj Parikshit was residing in the capital of the Kuru Empire, the symptoms of the age of Kali began to infiltrate within the jurisdiction of his state. When he learned about this, he did not think the matter very palatable. This did, however, give him a chance to fight. He took up his bow and arrow and prepared himself for military activities. So, Srila Prabhupada said, a perfect Kshatriya king is always jubilant as soon as he gets a chance to fight, just as a sportsman is eager when there is a chance for a sporting match. End of quote. See, somebody would like sports. Some people don't like sports. They don't like to run after balls or get out the confrontation. Like right now, there's a cricket World Cup going on. And these obviously are volunteers, besides being professionals, but they're volunteers. They chose to play cricket. They're not slaves. So, but they know there is a lot of tension in cricket. You know, you try to bowl the ball, you may be bowled out, or you throw the ball and the guy makes a 4, makes a 6, things like that. So there is a lot of anxiety. And then you got to, the other team makes so many runs. You got to, it's full of tension. But for somebody who is a true sportsman, they look forward to this thing. And there are and cricket is not even a contact sport, meaning people never got in touch with each other's body. But in football, in rugby, in many other sports, there are contact sports. So you actually literally fight. What about the martial arts? Is that clear? But people just like it's very clear. Well, they're just like a sportsman like to have a fight meaning a game, a match.
Yeah.
So similarly, a kshatriya is happy when they can fight.
Wow.
And this is, these are the gunas. These are the gunas. It's not like something necessarily divine. It's a rajaguna. So it's not like, but it's needed. It's needed in society.
I was thinking how the concept of beauty, even according to the Varnas, a Brahmana will consider another woman beautiful if she has beautiful mind. A Kshatriya will consider a woman who is very courageous and brave, beautiful. And then the Vaishya will consider a woman who's very calculative and sharp, maybe. And Shudra, maybe those who have a pretty hair and pretty something. So I'm just coming to appreciate this point that for Bhishma, Krishna's dust and the blood on him from the war was beautiful. And now Nrsingadev is the Ghora avatar, but he's so beautiful for Prahlad and for the demigods because he's been fully displaying that Virya Rasa. And I am trying to apply that in our lives, like friendship. Like I see some people, like in Mayapur also, I see some women who are very much into dressing and like they like pretty clothes and pretty hair bands and hair clips. I don't know, I'm just saying totally women stuff here, but they hang out with each other. And then those who like Shastra, those who like like something like discussions on a philosophical level, then they attract those kind of friendships. And somebody who wants to go make a change and fight for something, they attract those kind of people. And like that, and then somebody else, like for benefit of money, monetary things, they attract friendship. And I'm thinking of our Krishna Connection group as well. Somehow, we attract serious devotees who are interested in introspection, who are interested in transformation, who's interested in uplifting our uplifting and empowering ourselves to do the best. We kind of attracting that kind of people. What we discuss are all topics like that, and verses and shlokas and like that. And I have been to other groups and they discuss other things, like maybe more emotional stuff. So it's very interesting for me to see how we all attract a certain kind of mentality. Yeah. Rajeshwari Radhika Mataji is saying something here. She says, I think it starts with a little desire and slowly we hang around it. Yeah. Nature, we can't hide that nature. Like naturally, I see like friends who they dress similarly, they hang out more. And those of, like the other day when we had some festival, I found out that those who are interested in kirtan went where the kirtan was. Those of us interested to make something for the deities and have a sangha discussion, we all came together in another specific home. Like that, it's very interesting how we are attracted to certain rasa. Thank you very much. We have Gokul Lila also joining us today. So if you have any question, let us know.
So are we moving on?
Okay.
Or unless there's something else to discuss.
Okay, I can share the screen. I don't know what's happening. Okay, here it is. Sorry, I'm having trouble opening that one. No, here.
One thing I want to add is that I heard an interesting explanation, because Hiranyakashipu intestines were used as a garland as Nrsingadev. And one explanation I heard is that because he had stopped all the Vedic sacrifices, so he was like putting himself at the center of all the oblations, of all the offering. So Nrsingadev is like saying, now you put it in your own intestines, but actually they belong to me. So now I'm taking it back by taking your intestines. Okay.
Okay. Would you like to read it? Any of you would like to read? This verse. I can read the Sanskrit. Nakhan kurot patita hritsaroruham vishrija tasyanucharan udayudhan ahan samastan nakashastra panibhir dordanda yuthonupata sahasrasa. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had many, many arms, first uprooted Hiranyakashipu's heart, and then he threw him aside and turned toward the demon soldiers. These soldiers had come in thousands to fight with him with raised weapons and were very faithful followers of Hiranyakashipu. But Lord Nrsimhadeva killed all of them merely with the ends of his nails. Purport. Since the creation of the material world, there have been two kinds of men, the Devas and the Asuras. The Devas are always faithful to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas the Asuras are always atheists who defy the supremacy of the Lord. At present moment, sorry?
No, it was a video that started the sound.
At the present moment, throughout the entire world, the atheists are extremely numerous. They are trying to prove that there's no God and that everything takes place due to combinations and permutations of material elements. Thus, the material world is becoming more and more godless. And consequently, everything is in a disturbed condition. If this continues, the Supreme Personality of Godhead will certainly take action, as he did in the case of Hiranyakashipu. Within a second, Hiranyakashipu and his followers were destroyed. And similarly, if this godless civilization continues, it will be destroyed in a second, simply by the movement of one finger of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The demons should therefore be careful and curtail their godless civilization. They should take advantage of the Krishna consciousness movement and become faithful to their Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, they are doomed. As Hiranyakashipu was killed in a second, godless civilization can be destroyed at any moment. I see some comments. Oh, okay. Yeah, whenever they are ready, they can read. Sathavadhuta jalada parapatan grahascha tadrishti vimushtarochishah ambodhaya swasahata vichukshubhur nihrada bhita digibha vichukrushah. The hair on Nrsingadev's head shook the clouds and scattered them here and there. His glaring eyes stole the effulgence of the luminaries in the sky, and his breathing agitated the seas and oceans. Because of his roaring, all the elephants in the world began to cry in fear. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 10:41, Yad yad vibhuti tattvam sattvam srimad durjitameva va tat taddeva gachatvam mama tejom sambhavam. Know that all beautiful, glorious, and mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. The illumination of the planets and stars in the sky is but a partial manifestation of the Lord's effulgence. There are many wonderful qualities of different living entities, but whatever extraordinary things exist are but part of the Lord's tejas, his illumination or brilliance. The deep waves of the seas and oceans and the many other wonders within the creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead all become insignificant when the Lord, in his special feature, incarnates within this material world. Everything is insignificant in comparison to his personal, all-defeating transcendental qualities. Oh my God, I love that expression. Everything is insignificant in comparison to his personal, all-defeating transcendental qualities. This is so true. Even in personal life, emotionally, when I'm going through a specific turmoil and then I'm requesting special prayer, I'm making something for Radha Madhava, then immediately there's a reciprocation from the Lord. And it's just amazing how, everything in this world becomes so insignificant in comparison with the Krishna's personal ways of, every other emotion gets defeated because of his transcendent qualities of just reciprocating with the devotee. Bhavagrahi Janardana, he accepts the mode of the devotee, even if we are struggling, even if we're not able to do our best, etc. Krishna is always like kind. Like we studied Prithu Maharaj this morning. When Krishna comes and Prithu Maharaj is still a little bit grudgeful and angry about Indra. But then when Krishna preaches to him and Vishnu convinces Prithu Maharaj, and then he's defeated, he's defeated by Krishna's kindness. Instead of Krishna chastising Prithu Maharaj, saying, hey, you are Shakti Vesha avatar of me, why, how can you be like this? The Lord was very kind. And that really touched me, that we should be kind also to ourselves when we are progressing in our spiritual life and not beat ourselves up. Yeah. Sato kshipta vimana sankula प्रोत्सर्पता क्षमचापदा बिदिता शैला समुपेतुरमुष्यरंहसा तत्तेजसा खाम ककुभो नरे जिरे. Airplanes were thrown into outer space and the upper planetary system by the hair on Nrsingadeva's head. Because of the pressure of the Lord's lotus feet, the earth appeared to slip from its position. And all the hills and mountains sprang up due to his intolerable force. Because of the Lord's bodily effulgence, both the sky and all directions diminished in their natural illumination. Purport: that there were airplanes flying in the sky long, long ago can be understood from this verse. Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken 5,000 years ago. And the statements of this verse proves that the symptoms of a very advanced civilization then existed, even in the upper planetary systems, as well as in the lower planetary systems. Modern scientists and philosophers foolishly explain that there was no civilization prior to 3,000 years ago. But the statement of this verse nullifies such whimsical judgments. The Vedic civilization existed millions and millions of years ago. It existed since the creation of this universe. And it included arrangements all over the universe with all the modern amenities and even more. Tata sabhayam upivishtam uttame tripasane samvrta tejasam vibhu alakshita dvairatham atyamarshana prachanda vaktram nabhabaja kaschana. Manifesting a full effulgence and a fearsome countenance, Lord Nrsimhadeva, being very angry and finding no contestant to face his power and opulence, then sat down in the assembly hall on the excellent throne of the king. Because of fear and obedience, no one could come forward to serve the Lord directly. Ree, after this verse, if you're able to screen share, because my battery is dying and I don't have the charger here, it's only 3%.
But then also the transmission will become interrupted.
Life will not be interrupted. Purport. When the Lord sat on the throne of Hiranyakashipu, there was no one to protest. No enemy came forward on behalf of Hiranyakashipu to fight with the Lord. This means that his supremacy was immediately accepted by the demons. Another point is that although Hiranyakashipu treated the Lord as his bitterest enemy, he was the Lord's faithful servant in Vaikuntha, and therefore the Lord had no hesitation in sitting on the throne that Hiranyakashipu had so laboriously created. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks in this connection, that sometimes with great care and attention, great saintly persons and rishis offer the Lord valuable seats dedicated with Vedic mantras and tantras. But still the Lord does not sit upon those thrones. Hiranyakashipu, however, had formerly been Jaya, the doorkeeper at the Vaikuntha gate, and although he had fallen because of the curse of the Brahmanas and had gotten the nature of a demon, and although he had never offered anything to the Lord as Hiranyakashipu, the Lord is so affectionate to his devotee and servant that he nonetheless took pleasure in sitting on the throne that Hiranyakashipu had created. Wow. In this regard, it is to be understood that a devotee is fortunate in any condition of his life. Can you explain a little bit this point that sometime what Krishna, you remember that in Coimbatore, there is this big Shiva statue that some guy created, right? This Sadhguru guy created that. And I was making the comment that through him, Krishna is getting this Mahadev statue established, that Mahadev will remain there for a long, long time. So even sometimes materialistic people, narcissistic type of people want to do something for their own validations. Krishna knows how to use them for higher purpose. Is that like that, especially if you're devotees?
Well, you're putting two things together. One is non-devotees like Hiranyakashipu who builds a throne, and then Krishna, uses it. And one is that the devotees, I'm not sure what's the analogy of the devotees. Here, one principle Srila Prabhupada explains, he calls it the Ajagara Vritti, or the way of the python, that a mouse builds the hole because a snake cannot dig holes. So a mouse dig a hole, goes inside, and then the snake comes, eat the mouse, and he enjoys the hole as a house, as a residence. So Srila Prabhupada, this was also, I think, in Denver, he was walking in a park, and he was saying, you see, the materialists build these parks, and then we walk in these parks, we chant Hare Krishna in these parks. Now, this, of course, should be tempered by a great discrimination, otherwise we just become opportunists or even parasites. That's not the spirit that, we just use. In fact, Srila Prabhupada also built farms, built temples, and built schools. It's not they were just using things already bought. But the principle is the same, like there are churches, like Los Angeles Temple was a church. And so for a time, Villa Vrindavan in Florence, the temple was the church of that complex. Now it's in a different place. So the principle is that, people, devotees or non-devotees, build something and then it can be used for Krishna. That's a very general principle. So I'm not sure if I understand your analogy.
Sometimes, some devotees, they may establish a system or write something or build something with the mood of like me and mine. I. But Krishna has a way to purify that devotee even through that. Even if their intention is not 100% pure, they get some benefit.
Yeah, I mean, once, for instance, there was Garga Muni, Brahmananda's brother. He was a sannyasi at the time, Garga Muni Swami, and he was a GBC of Mayapur, in fact. And somebody told Srila Prabhupada, Garga Muni is not chanting his rounds And Srila Prabhupada said, of course, wasn't happy to hear that, but he said, well, he has a creative intelligence. He must be engaged. So he didn't say, oh, throw him out immediately. So some people, there are four things one can give to the Lord. One can give his life, one can give his money, one can give his intelligence or words, and one can give, one can give his intelligence, one can give his words. So everybody, maybe Garga Muni wasn't the greatest sadhaka, but he was very smart person. He was very creative. He was also kind of Vaishya. I mean, Srila Prabhupada called him Garga Mani because he was always dealing with accounts, nature. I mean, he was coming from a background, ethnic background. He was Jew, so kind of nature for them. Srila Prabhupada said Jews are Vaishya in general, as a general statement.
Yeah.
It's like Jayapataka Maharaj, the first time he went to the temple, he wanted to, there was a 25 cent cost, officially cost for prashad. Okay, so it was the first day coming to the temple, and he knew that it's 25 cents. Probably not many people were paying anyway, but he wanted to pay. Now he had this 25 cents coin, and he asked, okay, whom should I give? So he asked the prashad and servants, no, you go to the. Nobody wanted this 25 cents, right? But then immediately, when he went to Garga Muni, immediately grabbed the 25 cents. Not only that, but he also sold in the 3 volumes, first canto Bhagavatam. So anyway, I'm just giving a sample. That was his strength, right? One of his strengths. And of course, he did huge austerities in India with the library party. He did a lot of, mountains and oceans of services, not just that. But so Srila Prabhupada engaged him. He didn't say immediately, he cannot be GBC anymore, like that. I'm sure he was also concerned for his sadhana and for his spiritual life. I mean, he's a sannyasi. But he said, as a creative intelligence, he must be engaged. So, like what you say is true. Of course, there is a limit, because if somebody does it in a way that disturbs everybody and fries devotees, and he treats devotees in a very bad way and destroys people's spiritual life, then it's what do you call it's counterproductive. But a little personal motivation, a little passion, obviously can be engaged.
But at this point, I have this question. When you were saying that disturbs everybody, there are examples and I'm on this other machine. So there are cases where sometimes, like Hiranyakashipu, he's sick in one level, right? It's a curse. You can say the curse is the sickness. But there are devotees who are somewhat cursed, and therefore they cannot really, they don't have the capacity to treat others in a nice way. And they are mentally sick. Maybe they have a narcissism personality disorder or bipolar. I know devotees like that. They lose money. They lose money of the temple. They put family through crisis situation. They abuse workers and whoever. And it's not that they're evil. Really, I'm really saying that as a psychotherapist and astrologer, they're not evil. It's just that they just have no capacity for empathy. There are some narcissistic personalities that just are incapable of empathy, true empathy, authentic empathy. They can show empathy in order to gain some prestige like that, but they're not capable of genuine, heartfelt empathy. So my question is, if they destroy the faith of disciples, if they destroy the faith of people who come to the temple by telling them, like my cousin one day came to the temple, and the temple president was kind of narcissistic. And he was like, where are you from? And she said, I went to Art of Living. And then he started criticizing, what is this art of living? You should learn art of dying. What useless thing are you doing? So they may not do it maliciously, but they may be filled with insecurity. And as a compensation for that deep emptiness and insecurity, they might actually be building big temples and trying to do big things and followers. And so my question to you is like, how do we know where Krishna draws the line, where he says, okay, this person is sick in the mind, they're mistreating others, but it's okay, I'll get them back to Godhead. And when is the time that actually when is it an offense? Because everybody can use mental sickness, mental disability. Oh, I have ADHD and therefore, oh, I have bipolar and therefore. So we can all use different psychological diseases as an excuse for our bad behavior. But I just want to know from you, what do you think?
Well, there are at least two levels. One is the personal level. As you said, Krishna may or may not appreciate, or to what extent he appreciates, as a mixed devotion. Certainly, it's a mixed devotional service and so on, mixed with ignorance, because generally, when we talk about personality disorders, we're talking about ignorance, it's something that covers up the real perception. There's no sattva guna, certainly. So anyway, so one thing is on the individual level. You're saying how much, I'm paraphrasing, but how much advancement they make, how much they actually please Krishna. That's within them and Krishna. We don't know. And we cannot really define. Then there is the organizational level, the societal level, the community level. And that a serious society should protect its members from people who are sick. Like, for instance, I think we all know how many problems the Catholic Church created and also experienced because so many priests abuse children, because these priests cannot marry, they cannot have a normal emotional or sexual life. So they become strange, really strange, mentally strange, and they start preying on children. And this can happen anywhere, but a serious community should do something about it. What the people became very angry with the church all over the world, and millions of people lost interest, lost the faith, even in very, very Catholic places like Ireland was one of the most Catholic countries in the world. But there were so many scandals of priests and nuns abusing children in so many ways that people just got fried with these people. And for instance, there's a movie which, by the way, it also won the Oscar as the best movie. But I really like I really like the movie. It's called Spotlight. Spotlight was a department of the Boston Globe, a local newspaper. And Boston, very Catholic place, because a lot of Irish people like that. So, and these journalists, the whole movie is about these journalists. They started hearing about abuse of children by priests. And then they start researching. They talk with the victims, they talk with the other lawyers who have dealt with that, they talk with the priests when they can, they talk with the bishop, and so on and so forth. So then what happened is that they discover hundreds of cases, and what they found is that because they had all this records from the diocese, from the Catholic organization, and they started seeing how they were removing priests from one church or from one parish with a particular excuse, like something sickness, but general, and then they found out that actually there were hundreds of priests involved in child abuse, and the church were just moving from one church to another. So they knew very, very, very clearly that these people are dangerous, these people are sick, and these people are going to continue abusing children, sexually abusing children. because they're pedophiles and so on. So that was a huge scandal because, I mean, you church, you know that these people are harmful and you move them to another church as if nothing happened. And they kept, so there are thousands of victims due to this policy of covering up. Why I gave this kind of extended example. So now, is the priest going to hell, or is the priest pleasing Jesus? To what extent? That I don't know. You know, he may go to hell, he may go to heaven, he may, Jesus or Krishna may see, okay, or whatever. That's between him and God. But in fact, the big cardinal finally was removed from Boston. He was sent to Rome, and a couple of years ago he died. So people hated him. One journalist said, like, okay, Cardinal such and such meets death, so now he has to kind of pay all this thing. So what I'm saying, but organizationally, the organization, the administration has the duty to protect its members. So when we come to ISKCON, if somebody is too disturbed or too exploitative, or just he creates a situation which is so heavy, in theory, there should be a higher authority that looks at the situation and tries to fix it, either by removing the person or by bringing these persons to some therapy. So is it clear what I'm saying? One is the individual level, which is basically between them and God. And one is on the organizational level. There should be some accountability. And yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
So we need to develop that accountability.
We got a long way to go. We're still a young movement, I guess. We're making a lot of mistakes.
Like, I give you an example. There's a community somewhere in a different, not in India, I'm talking another community, another continent, that I knew there were multiple suicides in that community. And so I wrote, I wrote about other things, about other anomalies that were going on, but I wrote about that. And then there were people who agree with me that you got to look into it. How come it's a small community of devotees? Means they have houses, private house, but it's the same community. And you got people who commit suicide, and they have others who have serious problems. And some people agree with me that they should look into it. They should look into it and at least discuss with the responsible person what's going on. Because there is a rate of suicide in the world, and sometimes also devotees kill themselves. So, quote unquote, there is like a normal statistics. But when the percentage becomes so higher, then obviously we should what do you call take a look. It's like imagine there is a percentage of children who are born dead. Okay, it's just a fact of life. But and I don't know the percentage. I'm not the percentage, but I don't know. Let's say 1% for just argument's sake. 1% of children are born dead. But if in one place, in one hospital, 10% of children or 20% of children, 30% of children are born dead, I mean, the ministry, the local administration has to say, how come it's outrageously higher than the average? So this is the example. So somebody should look into it. Some people agree with me, and others apparently they were not interested in looking into it. It's just very sad. But anyway,
yeah, I mean, I was also thinking about this.
I think I did my duty to inform people. It's not a place where I live. It's not a place where I don't have any administrative role. So I informed the National Council, which takes its own, and some of them actually became angry with me. Not.
I know. Anyway, the point is also like this whole Shiksha Guru thing is also another relevant topic in this regard, like
Yeah.
those people who may be like forcing leadership upon people, forcing people to take initiative. Anyway, it's a whole topic, this kind of, is it called, what does tyranny mean? What does tyranny mean?
Well, tyranny is a colorful term. I mean, depends on how you use. It could be, I mean, I won't take it too literally, but there is obviously, call it abuse, call it coercion, call it just a misapplication of Krishna consciousness. There's a lot of misunderstanding. The people that are thinking that they are doing something right, or they convince themselves they're doing something right, but the thing is fundamentally wrong. So an organized organization keeps not only keeps tracks, but there is a principle in civilized life that any job, any profession that can hurt others, like you're a doctor, you're a surgeon, you're a lawyer, you're even an accountant. If you make mistakes, you can hurt others very badly. If a lawyer doesn't do his job properly, the guy may go in jail for years just because the lawyer didn't do the proper job. They didn't do the proper appeals and things like that. Or a physician, obviously a physician, he can kill somebody or can. Anyway, we understand the principle. So what to speak of somebody was the spiritual life of people in their hands. So because, as you said, we are a young movement, but I don't know how much we can remain young and get scot-free, no? But in a serious, so in a normal civilized society, all these professions, they have a mandatory training. You cannot just start cutting people open and say, I'm a surgeon, and put the board outside your home, your house, because this is a certification process. You have to go through an university, a recognized university. You have to go through the exams. You got to go through internship and this and that. So after years of practice, after years of studying the body and so on, then you can start cutting open people as a surgeon. And the state has to see if somebody, in fact, is a crime. If you act as a surgeon and you're not a surgeon, it's a big crime. I think in most societies, or maybe all societies. So what to speak of dealing with the life and the fate of people? Unfortunately, because we are, as you said, we are still a young movement. We empower people with no training whatsoever. Once I was taking prasad many years ago, so things I'm sure must have improved a lot. But once I was in Moscow, in Russia, and I happened to take prasad the Sunday feast with Niranjan Maharaj, and he told me some of these temple presidents we have in Russia, their only qualification was that they cannot work with anybody else. They're so antisocial.
What does that mean?
Their only qualification is that they cannot collaborate, they cannot cooperate.
How is that a qualification?
It's an ironic statement. Means they're only, it's an ironic, the only qualification, quote unquote, qualification is that they cannot work with anybody else. So they must find, Russia is huge. It's the largest country in the world. So they must find a little town, a little city where they can be the center, where they can be the boss. Otherwise, they can't work with other people. They cannot work under other people, or they cannot work with other people. They have to go find a place where it's their turf, and they're the chieftain, and they're the rulers of the place. Again, this was many years ago, maybe, I don't know, could have been 90, could have been almost 30 years ago. So I'm sure. So, but there was that phase right, but still we have in India, for instance, or in India, everywhere in the world, you can become a temple president and manage building worth millions of dollars, congregation of thousands of people, including men, women, children, old people, and so on. And technically, you don't need to have any training. You don't need to have any course. You don't have to take a course, temple president course. So they may have, of course, in some place, they have more screening, more training than others. So I'm not saying the whole India is like that. But I'm sure everywhere else, as far as I know, there's no, it's a fact, not as far as I know. It's a fact. There is no like, okay, you become a temple president in ISKCON, you had to go through this training. There's no such a thing. There's no such a thing. Of course, locally, they may want to impose something, and some people maybe have a better leadership record than others. I'm thinking of different temples where certainly they will be very, very, very careful in putting somebody as a temple president. But in other places, either they're so desperate or so uncultured that, okay, we need a temple president, put this guy. And the guy maybe is, say, it's a young brahmachari, doesn't know anything about dealing with grihasta, dealing with families, he doesn't even know well the philosophy, doesn't have any social idea or a strange idea about varnashram, something strange, and he's in charge of the whole community. And in that city is our ISKCON representative. So anyway, I don't know if I went on so much, but that was your question. And so a serious society, first of all, when it gives responsibility, trains people for that responsibility. And after training them, they keep track of their accountability. Just like the state tells you, okay, you want to become a doctor, you got to go through. And after you become a doctor, there is still some what do you call, some evaluation. Say you have a doctor, and then some patient goes to the police and say, oh, he gave me the wrong medicine. The police will look into it.
Right.
So now, as a positive, what do you call positive final note on this from me, unless there's some more questions. As a positive thing is that because Srila Prabhupada and the GBC gave to some extent, clear guidelines, so then if somebody is sincere, then they can do a job even if they're not so qualified, or they didn't have a specific training, because okay, person chants 16 rounds, is getting up in the morning, he goes to Mongol Arctic, he studies Bhagavatam every day, at least that hour there in the temple, and okay, all day is engaged. So there is a good chance that they do something good and useful, and they don't do so many disasters just because there are some parameters of behavior like that. But that's we can't just depend on those parameters. Just like when Srila Prabhupada, famous story of Srila Prabhupada was about to leave the body in Vrindavan, and one Rajeshwari Radhika says it's an extreme way to see others from different backgrounds.
This was about the previous. She's talking about She's talking about previously what we were discussing about.
Oh, okay,
some
was 20 minutes ago. Okay. So to conclude this point, as I said, the positive point is that people chant Hare Krishna and so on, so they're somewhat purified. They don't eat meat, at least that like that. At the same time, when Srila Prabhupada called the midnight Giriraj Maharaj, and he said, "Do you think this movement will go on?" And Giriraj Maharaj wanted to be encouraging. He said, "Yeah, if we chant Hare Krishna, we follow the principles." Srila Prabhupada said, "Yeah, but there's also need the intelligence and organization. So it's not just, okay, we chant Hare Krishna, we know a few verses of the Gita and everything. No, intelligence and organization." Okay.
Thank you. We have 2 minutes left. So if any other comments by Rajeshwari Radhika or Gokul Leela or Kushbu also is there today. Kushbu, any of you have any other question?
So we finish what, this 134? Can you see? The devotee, yeah, the devotee is fortunate in any condition of life. So we could read 35, huh? If there is nothing else. Nishame loka trayamastaka jvaram tamadidaitya harina hathamarde praharsha vegot kali tana namohu prasuna bharsha bhavrishu surastriya. Hiranyakashipu had been exactly like a fever of meningitis in the head of the three worlds. Yeah, what we say, a pain in the neck, or there are the expressions in that constellation.
In the backside.
Huh? What?
Pain in the backside.
That's when the wives of the demigods in the heavenly planets saw that the great demon had been killed by the personal hands of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their faces blossomed in great joy. The wives of the demigods again and again showered flowers from heaven upon Lord Nishingadeva like rain, like a lot of flowers. That's a lot of flowers. Tada vimanavalivirnavastalam didrikshatam sankulamaasanakinam suranakadundubayota jagnire Gandharva Mukhya Nandritur Jagustriya. At that time, the airplanes of the demigods who desired to see the activities of the Supreme Lord Narayan crowded the sky. The demigods began beating drums and kettle drums, and upon hearing them, the angelic women began to dance, while the chiefs of the Gandharvas sang sweetly. This reminds me of the scene in about 30 years ago when Saddam Hussein was toppled by the US Army. And there were similar scenes in Baghdad, in Iraq. People were really happy to get this tyrant down. And they started bringing down all the statues, cutting the heads of the statues of him, like that. Of course, in that case, because it was not Nishingadeva, but was some US army. And then, of course, the whole country, in one sense, became much worse than it was before. But that's a different story. But that kind of jubilation in seeing a dictator, a very, very horrible, very violent dictator, be put down, being killed in this case. So certainly people in the universe were very, very happy. Okay, so oops, we went 1 minute over. I'm sorry. So
okay.
So we did up to text 36 included.
Yeah.
So there is this great celebration, and then there will be prayers and all that.
I'll just end with this Mangala. ಅಂತರಿಕ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಮರರು ನೋಡಿಯಾಗ ಪುಷ್ಪವೃಷ್ಟಿಯನ್ನೇ ಕರೆದರು. ಅಜನ ಪಡೆದ ದೇವಿ ಬಂದು ತೊಡೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಕುಳಿತಿರಲು ಅಮರ ಪತಿಯರೆಲ್ಲರ ನೋಡಿ ಅಂಜಬೆಡೆಂದ ಭಯ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ನಾರಸಿಂಹನೆಂಬು ದೇವನು ನಂಬಿದಂತ ನರರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ವರವ ಕೊಡುವನು. ನಾರಸಿಂಹನೆಂಬು ದೇವನು. This is the Mangalam of that song where Antarikshadalli means in the heavenly denizens of the heavenly planets, they were showering so many types of flowers as this pastime was happening, and then the goddess of fortune also came down, and she also sat next on the lap of Nrsingadev, and like that it says, and then it says, whoever listens to this pastime with great faith, they will have all their spiritual desires fulfilled, and they will achieve spiritual protection of Nrsingadev. Bhagavan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you. Hare